Hello and welcome to AutoFocus. The Toyota Innova, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. The Toyota Innova has been a ubiquitous people's mover. It's a comfortable people's mover that's been extremely popular both in the institutional and the individual MPV buyer segment. This is a vehicle that's iconic. Toyota has sold more than 2.6 million Innovas around the world, and the Innova Krista even today rules the roost in that three-row MPV segment, where people specifically ask for the Innova for this comfort and driving pleasure, and even for the second and third row passengers it has been one of the most comfortable vehicles. The Hycross with a HY represents the hybrid version of the Toyota Innova, which is now completely reborn, is an entirely new design. It's built ground up, so don't assume from that familiar design cues, which some of them referring back to the current Innova Krista, don't assume that this is just a facelift. It is a lot more than that. It's built completely ground up with an entirely new monocoque chassis compared to the ladder frame chassis that the Toyota Innova Krista had, and there's going to be a lot of trim variants, so people that may be a little worried about whether price positioning may become a little more expensive, they don't have to worry about it. And also the people that continue to believe that diesel will be their choice of fuel can stick with the Innova Krista, which will continue to parallelly exist with this. This is going to be available at a dealership starting this month. The new Toyota Innova Hycross is featuring the hybrid tech that we've seen from Toyota in the urban cruiser Hyrider, but a variation of that. It's now called the TNGA-C platform, or the Toyota new global architecture, and that is an engine with a hybrid powertrain that delivers more efficiency, that delivers even a pure EV mode for a vehicle of this size. The good thing about the Innova Hycross is that a lot of the inputs have gone from Toyota India, including for the design. So from that perspective, India as a market and in the Indian buyer preference as a factor has become far more important, and that's a good note to begin with. The design is certainly sportier, much more aggressive and strong and muscular from the front side. That SUV character coming through with the slightly narrowing nose. The slimmer headlamps, as you can see, is now all LED in the top end variant. This honeycomb grille is very different from the slatted grille that the Innova Krista had, and then this thin air dam here in the top of the front fender, giving it that nice profile. The finish quality, the fit and finish, the panel gaps, tight panel caps, all of that indicating the quality and overall build of the Innova Hycross is top notch in its segment, and that's a key factor to keep up the iconic status of the Innova. And some of that elements again which deliver that premium impact include this sort of LED strip which doubles up as a DRL and a turn indicators, and overall the front stance with that double power dome for the bonnet, all of that coming through, delivering that sportier, younger profile for the Hycross. The Innova Krista's ladder frame chassis has been replaced by a monocoque in this new Innova Hycross. The Hycross then will benefit from the better ride quality and suspension, but before that the monocoque has been created with a slightly different dimension. The wheels, like in the Krista 2, have been pushed to the extremes, the overhang only at the rear being a little more. The wheelbase is now 2850 millimeters, which is almost 100 millimeters more than the Innova Krista, and that then is going to translate in terms of more space within the cabin. So that's the side profile of the Innova Hycross. Now this is about 20 millimeters wider than the Innova Krista, and the length is also increased a little bit, just a shade. So overall the side profile is where you can see that it's a lot like the Innova Krista of the the current model that is there. Some of these additions that you see here, these trim elements are aftermarket fitment, they are not part of what will be offered, but the design is capturing the essence of the Innova, including those flared wheel arches, the strong haunch. Now the haunch of course is, and that shoulder and the haunch is even more defined by this new tail lamp, sits on the haunches, defines the haunches a little more, and a very clean finish for the rear, simplistic and at the same time very elegant. This chrome band connecting the two tail lamps, delivering a little bit of that perception of width, and the tail lamps themselves having a configuration which is now delivering those nighttime LED tubes sort of feel. And this is of course a powered tailgate which can be opened and closed with just the press of a button. That's the amount of boot space you would get if you're using all 7 or 8 seats. It is going to be available in both a 7-seat and an 8-seat configuration, in both for the petrol and the petrol hybrid powertrains. The 7 or 8-seat configuration is going to be available. Mild references back to the Innova Krista in terms of the general layout. Still a very vertical sort of dashboard orientation. There is still a lot of the MPV style, but at the same time the taller dashboard top and the seating position and the driving position, view of the road, stuff like that has changed a bit. It has got a bit of that mild SUV Fortuner style positioning and view of the road, a certain level of premiumness that comes through with all of that choice of trim, stitched artificial leather, the ventilated seats that we have in this particular top trim variant, the whole center stack and the way it has been, created, touchscreen infotainment system, and the digital sort of instrument cluster coming together to bring that sort of modernity. And of course, at the same time, there's a lot of touches of practicality. So the wireless charging tray is now positioned here, ideally positioned for a lot of people who are going to be chauffeur driven. The Innova still is very often a vehicle in which people use the services of a driver, and so it's going to be the right position for the owner to be sitting and using. And this is now the eCVT's transmission and gear stick, delivering that very easy to reach, ergonomically positioned, and at the same time very well created gear stick area. What you get now in the Innova Hycross is an electric power steering, different from the hydraulic power steering that the Innova Krista had. Right off, when I took the car out on the test drive this morning, the first turn that I did, I could already make out that the steering feels lighter, it is quicker to turn. Overall U-turns should also be quicker and easier to make, though of course this is still a 4.75 meter long vehicle. In terms of that length and turning radius, that's going to take a little space for you compared to what a small car would. But that said, the steering feel is nicer, easy and nimble, even going up and down Nandi Hills there where we tried this. It's also speed sensitive, so it weighs up higher speeds. The second row seats are also very comfortable to sit in, and the third row also gets reclinable backrests. Cabin space was never an issue even in the Innova Krista, and here too it does get a lot more in terms of features. So the Innova Hycross gets a panoramic sunroof, quilted leather powered Ottoman seats as Toyota calls it for the second row, mood lighting, and there's also multi-zone air conditioning and a 9-speaker JBL music system, including a subwoofer that does deliver a decent quality of reproduction inside the cabin. There is also a bunch of advanced connected features: remote vehicle ignition, smartwatch connectivity, vehicle tracking, Find My Car, and remote windows and trunk close for people that might need to use these kind of features. In addition to this, the electrochromic rear view mirror, a rear sunshade for the second row seat, and most importantly, getting in and out of the second and third row should be a breeze with much wider rear door compared to the Innova Krista, which also opens out to nearly 75-80 degrees, making that a lot easier for ingress and egress, both for second row occupants and third row occupants. Of course, getting into the third row will need you to fold the backrest for the second row and move it forward, and moving the second row forward has been made really easy, so that getting in and out of the third row shouldn't be a problem. There were 8-way powered driver seats in my test mule with memory function, and of course the connected touchscreen is a 25.62 centimeter unit that has multiple functions including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. This is a fairly comfortable captain's seat, I'm sure, in terms of overall seat comfort, there's artificial leather that has been used as the upholstery. All of that should come together and give you a fairly comfy ride for long distances. In addition to the average adjustments, fore and aft including, we also have in the Hycross, and this is the top end variant, where you can get stuff like this Ottoman, as Toyota calls it, the Ottoman seating position for you to get a business class style possibility to help rest your calves and your feet. You can also change the backrest angle. As you can see, I'm using electrical adjustment for the backrest, which can then help me push back and get as much as a business class seat style recline for the backrest. The new Toyota Innova Hycross features an entirely new powertrain. The petrol engine is going to be offered independent of the hybrid system, and then of course you're also going to be getting the petrol engine combined with the 5th generation Toyota hybrid system, which is similar in terms of its overall tech to what was offered in the urban cruiser Hyryder, but a lot of it is very, very different too. Starting from the fact that this is the TNGA, which then is a 2-liter 4-cylinder variable valve timing intelligent engine that is also delivered with the petrol only variant. The engine is the same in both the petrol and the petrol hybrid form. There's going to be 4 different variants with 2 different seating capacities for the petrol only variant, and of course you're going to be getting 3 variants with the hybrid, which then is the VX and the ZX, with a ZXO, the optional package that offers advanced driver assistance systems. Now this engine is a 1987cc engine that is paired with a hybrid system, and this hybrid system involves about 168 cells of nickel metal hydride NiMH battery that is larger than what we saw in the urban cruiser Hyryder. This then is capable of delivering a pure EV mode range, and of course Toyota refuses to talk about the exact range that it can offer in pure EV mode. But that said, in terms of percentages, they are talking about how in a city driving cycle it can deliver as much as 40% of the driving range in pure EV mode. In the petrol hybrid Toyota Innova Hycross, this Atkinson cycle engine is paired with a e-drive transmission with sequential shift. There is the opportunity to manually shift gears and select from maximum of 6 gears. This engine develops a 184 horsepower peak power and 188 newton meters of torque. There is an additional 206 newton meters of torque that's available from the electric motor. There is no combined output number that is identifiable between the petrol engine and the electric system, but overall the amount of torque available is more than adequate for it to be fairly peppy. And there is also the opportunity to choose between 3 different drive modes, including eco, normal and power. Vehicle does stay in gear if you're driving in power and choose manually select gears. It does stay in gear until a point where underlying RPM crosses a certain point where the engine needs to be protected, and then it shifts upwards. The same engine, Atkinson cycle petrol 1987cc engine, is offered with the petrol only variants, and here too the engine delivers a fairly adequate 172 horsepower peak power and 205 newton meters of torque. Here the engine is paired with a direct shift CVT transmission. In terms of driving dynamics, the engine feels peppy but not aggressively so. It is adequate for powering the Innova, which is a fairly heavy car already, and of course the hybrid is 150 kgs heavier than the regular petrol Innova Hycross. Gear shifts are seamless. There is no rubber band effect that comes through from the CVT, and there is no shift shock either. Engine shifts are very seamless. Overall on the road, the performance of the Innova Hycross is pretty quick. There is the possibility of using paddles mounted on the steering wheel if you do want a quick overtake maneuver, and there is enough torque available in the hybrid that we were driving thanks to the parallel assist that the electric motor offers. The steering being pretty nimble and easy to use. The electric power steering offering a lot of assistance during slow speeds and weighing up nicely at higher speeds. That there is where the battery pack is located. It's a 168 cell battery pack and it sits under the front two seats. There is no transmission tunnel to block the battery pack and distribution. Since it's a CVT, eCVT transmission, there's no transmission tunnel, and now the power is delivered to the front wheels, unlike the Innova Krista where the power is being delivered to the rear wheels. Bunch of advanced driver assistance systems. These include lane keeping assist, which Toyota calls lane tracing assist. It also has adaptive cruise control, auto high beam, and also brake assist, which essentially means that the vehicle enables quicker, harder braking in case it does detect a vehicle in front. The system believes that you need to be braking harder or slowing down faster. It is not very intrusive, and to that extent is certainly a feature that can be appreciated by people on the highway in many of the kind of conditions that Indians will face, with potentially cattle and people attempting to cross the road. So that then is the Toyota Innova Hycross. This is going to be the Innova that you would be choosing if you want a petrol, and if you are seeking the efficiencies that can come with a petrol in hybrid combination, then this is what you should be looking at. This is essentially the Innova still. It drives like one. It's as comfortable as the Innova that we have known. It is different in many respects, and of course it gets a lot more kit now than it has ever had, including this top trim variant that we've been driving, which is fully loaded with a lot of features that cars way above in the price segment would have. Now this then is the Innova that you should be buying if you are looking for the efficiency that can come through with the advantage of a hybrid. Then this can deliver a rated mileage of about 21.1 kilometers per liter. That would possibly be not what you would get on real world conditions, but it certainly should be possible for you to get about 15 to 16 kilometers to a liter if you drive judiciously. This Innova Hycross then is a complete leap in terms of technology and features for the brand. The iconic status that the Innova enjoys still completely preserved by the new Hycross. Expect prices to range from about 20 lakhs to about 30 lakhs plus.